Hey, I'm Mark.
And I'm Craig.
This is Songwriters Tales. Craig, I'm excited. It is Artist Spotlight Series time, and we have an absolutely wonderful person on with us today. We know her outside the show. We knew her outside the show first, and then we thought, man, this girl's an artist. We need to have her on. And
Yeah.
boy, is she an artist. Let's talk a little bit about Madeline Rose. She is somebody really cool we need to talk about.
Never had anybody on the show quite like her.
Mm,
Mainly
mm.
because she's not a country artist like most of our artists are, but she is a pop singer, a pop songwriter, comes out of theater. She's the real deal when it comes to vocals and performance and construction of tunes. So this young lady has got so much going on. Not only that, but there's a very special part
Mm.
of her story with her
Yeah.
brother that you're going to want to hear on this podcast. What do you say,
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah. This is something, her story is so cool and it goes so much beyond music. But you know what, Craig? I say, let's do it. Hey, it's Mark. We are back with our Artist Spotlight series, and this one's cool. This one's cool. We've kind of gotten to know Madeline Rose, who we've gotten to know her through mutual friends. And Craig, let's talk a little bit about. Let's give her a little bit of love, and then let's jump into this.
Absolutely. Hello to you, Madeline.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
We are excited. We just saw you just a few days ago in Nashville and face to face, and that was awesome. And that's where you are. We for some reason, I wonder what it is about this show that has something to do with music that we have talked to a lot of people in Nashville. I don't know how that works out, but seems to be the case because you're not from there, and we're going to get to that. But you are what we would call a pop singer. A lot of the people we have on are country singers and country songwriters and country producers and on and on. But we're going to just start off and just let you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from. Just kind of give us a little bit of background, and then we'll kick it off from there.
Yeah, well, I'm from the DC area. I grew up in Potomac, Maryland. Grew up there, grew up doing theater and just like loving music and finding any excuse to get involved in music. And then I ended up in Oklahoma City for musical theater school. So I got a bachelor's of music from Oklahoma City University.
Nice.
And then I found myself in Nashville to pursue songwriting.
What is it about Nashville? Because we've always thought of Nashville as a country music town, and I know it's expanded since then. But a pop singer, what drew you to Nashville? You could have gone to New York, you could have gone to LA. What was it about Nashville?
Yeah, it's really funny. I literally knew one girl who moved here, and I literally just kind of followed her online. I was like, she's doing writers rounds, she's like performing all the time, she's in these cool studios. I'm like, I feel like I could do that too. And yeah, like the idea of like New York and LA just seemed like scarier and more gatekeepy, and I could just like see the potential Nashville had and how they like embrace new people. And I was like, that's kind of like where I felt more called to. And I was like, let me try it out. And I can always leave. And I just like have stuck around because it's been so great.
You
Well,
can always leave.
how long
Yeah,
have
I
you
was like, let me just try it.
how long have you been in Nashville?
I'm coming up on 4 years, which is crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
Hmm.
were fresh out of college then, I guess, when you headed down here. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. My first year out of college, I was like back in Maryland and I was like working with a producer in Maryland and I was teaching voice lessons. I had like 7 like middle school girls. I was teaching like musical theater voice lessons too. And I love that. And I still teach lessons and it's like something that I love so much and I'm super passionate about as well. So I did that for a year and I was working with a producer and I was like, you know what? I feel like I can do everything I'm doing in Nashville and just expand it. And that's kind of what happened. I still have like a lot of students from Maryland who I see on Zoom. I've expanded
Wow.
my lessons into like artists in Nashville, which has been awesome. Um and yeah,
That's
and then I've just expanded my horizons on like people I make music with. So it's been such a positive like move for me. I'm so grateful I did it.
so cool. That's so
That is,
cool.
and you're a multi-instrumentalist as well. That's one of the things we learned about you. I'll just make a mention of Kevin Daugherty, who has been on our show. Kevin, for those that haven't seen his podcast interview, Kevin is an attorney. He works with all kinds of legal things, but he entertainment attorney as well. He's also a songwriter and just had a song cut on Jamie O'Neill's latest. And we've known Kevin for about 30 years. That's how we came to know you, Madeline, of course. You knew that.
Mhm.
Um, but as when we were up there this last weekend and met with you, you were teaching piano lessons, I think is what you were teaching. So you're just kind of doing it all, aren't you?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, like when I was in college for musical theater, we had to take piano. We had to do like class piano. So we did like 4 semesters of that and I like loved it. I was like, I'm not ready to be done. So then after like the 4 semesters of like class piano for singers, I like went on and trained privately with like one of the piano instructors. And then I took like guitar from like an adjunct professor. And that became like my fun part outside of like my school music stuff. And
Mhm.
then when it came time when I, like, graduated, I was like I fell more in love with, like, instruments and, like, the creative process of writing and, like, you know, instrumentation and vocal arranging, like, all of that, like, lit me up more than, like, being in a show because I did that so many times too, and I love musical theater so much still, but I realized, like, when it comes to, like, the hustle, like, I rather be, like, creating the music myself than, like, auditioning to be in someone's show. So, it was a hard decision because I went to school for it and I envisioned my whole life, like, moving to New York and being in that industry.
Sure.
Which I still love so much, like, I cry every time I see a Broadway show because I know
Mhm.
how hard it is to get there and, like, the years of work, like, every single part of the show, like, the lighting people, the sound people, like, every dancer and singer, like, I know how hard it is.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I love that industry too, but I just felt called to be more on the, like, creative side.
I want to ask you a question. I was about to ask a out of my ignorance because I'm a street musician. I'm like Mark knows all the terms. He knows Mark is more versed in all the nuances of all the different kind of music and genres than I am. But when you were talking musical theater, then you mentioned Broadway. So because I was about to say, so musical theater, what is that exactly? And then you said Broadway. I do have that, but that to me does that mean that does that entail being an actress as well or an actor? Because that's not just singing. That's like the whole showbiz thing, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, my training was, like, in singing, dancing, acting, I was at a bunch of musicals, so it's so, like such a different, like, presentation of music. Yeah.
Well, how has that affected your writing? I mean,
Yeah, so much so. So something like the biggest thing I noticed is like when you train in musical theater, everything is like every song has a meaning, right? They call it like, what's your objective? Like, what is the character going to get at the end of the song? And like, how are they going to get it? Like, this song is the way they're going to like navigate through the plot and the show. So it's all about like telling the story.
sure.
And they say, like, you know, good musical theater, like every song drives the plot. And so when I, like, write, I'm, like, really story driven, which kind of is, like I guess I'm a pop singer because that's my influence, like, pop and musical theater are my influence, but, like, I do, love writing with country writers because they're so into the storytelling and, like,
Mhm.
they create characters in their music as well and, like, paint the picture of the scene and the characters. So, I think that's kind of really defined how I right. Whether, like, I'm the character or I'm making up a character, I definitely, like, need to write based off something real, some sort of story or some sort of perspective.
Mhm. Mhm. Do
That
you
is
have
awesome.
Do you have an in I mean, you play a lot of instruments. What instrument do you primarily write on when you're writing?
I really change it up. When I first started, I wrote on ukulele a lot just because
Okay.
it was easy to carry around. And
Mhm.
then before I moved to Nashville, I was like, "I cannot show up and play around with a ukulele, like, I gotta learn guitar." So I spent a lot of time working on guitar before I came to Nashville, and so I wrote that I had, like, kind of an era where I really wrote on guitar, and I wrote on piano a lot too. Writing on piano and guitar, I feel like it just creates such a different vibe to the song.
It does. It really
Mhm.
does.
You
It
know, what's
So
really
it
funny is I
depends
does.
have
what it needs.
I'm not a uke player. I mean, I can play Somewhere Over the Rainbow, that kind of stuff, you know. But I've got a banjo as well that I picked up probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm when I say I play the banjo, I own a banjo, as somebody recently said, but I'm not a banjo player. But I've actually used that just, it's kind of like with guitars. We've got certain guitars that speak to us in different ways. Does that work with you with different instruments as well? That they just speak a whole different story to you?
Totally, yeah, like, every
Yeah.
instrument has a different vibe to it and kind of a different feeling, so it just depends on, like, what you're writing about and what you wanna bring to it.
Have you ever written a sad song on a ukulele?
That's a good question.
Because the
If
voicing
you
doesn't
have,
lend itself.
you're really good. If you're really good, if you can do that.
I don't think so, but I think I have tried out some of my sad songs on ukulele and, like, it's kinda cool.
Oh,
That
yeah,
is awesome.
yeah.
Try it on
Well,
a banjo, you won't come up with a sad tune.
no.
That's so true. Ugh, banjo's cool. Banjo's, like, the next instrument I wanna, like, nail down and, like, add.
Absolutely, they're so fun.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
You there's a guy here, who, um he's around. He's a local artist here. He's on The Voice, I think, and but so he's had a good thing going. But he was saying one of his videos, which I just loved, was talking about how you can make any song sad by slowing it down and throwing in some minor chords. And he sings the Pharrell song "Happy," which is just so, but the way he sings it, it sounds like a very profound, sad song, and so it's kind of funny when you when you said that, but, so I know you were telling us when we were in Nashville, you just had a new single released, right? Did you just release a
It's
new
not
single?
out yet, but I just finished
Okay.
mastering it yesterday, so I'm planning on getting that release ready. I don't even have a date yet because it was yesterday that I mastered it, but it will be my next release, and I'm really excited about it.
Well, tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's a song called "The Walls," and, I wrote it with my favorite collaborator, my brother Ethan. So he wrote this poem, and I turned it into a song. But the significance of him writing the poem is that Ethan has autism and he's nonverbal. And he began typing and communicating with our family when he was around 19 years old. So we spent a lot of years with him not being able to communicate with us, only a few words and phrases. He could like say our names and say colors and say some of the foods that he wanted.
Mhm.
So when he learned to type, which took years of hard work of him figuring it out, of some sessions getting nowhere, of some sessions having breakthroughs, and then finally to getting him typing at home and not just like in school for an hour. So it was such a long process to finally break open his like communication. And
Mhm.
then to my surprise, not only is he like the coolest person ever, he's also like an artist and like a poet, and we could sit and talk about writing together. And as someone who writes, like, seeing him, like, form words and phrases kind of in, like, one fell swoop with very little editing was so impressive to me. Um, because, like, when I write in my notes app and maybe take a few days on it and I write whenever I feel like it and I go back and I edit.
Mhm.
And when you need, like, assistance, you kinda need someone to, like, calm his body down and, like, align the iPad so he can kinda get into position. And it's almost like he had the poem in his head arranged, and just, like, one letter at a time, I watched him just, like, flush out this beautiful poem called "The Walls."
So amazing.
that
Yeah,
is
so the
I
song's
mean,
like a beautiful metaphor for his life in silence, and how he existed without being able to speak, and like his relationship to like meditation and calmness. And he makes that a metaphor for like the walls of a house. Like everyone's gonna look at the trinkets and the dresser and the mirrors and everything, and everyone's so focused on themselves that you forget like what's right in front of you and like how the walls observe everything. And I've seen every change in every moment in the house.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's so deep, and the we talked to you about this, when we were in Nashville, and you told us that you were on an episode of the telepathy tapes, and
Mhm.
so I wanna go ahead and plug that because we listened to the episode, and it's amazing.
It is.
That whole podcast is amazing, so I
It is.
recommend it, but you definitely need to listen to Madeline and, her family talk about, her brother Ethan, and you actually read a poem, of his on the show called, "The Trees" or something.
Yes. Yeah.
I think your mother said something about it, about how she almost felt guilty because you guys didn't realize what was brewing inside this young man's head, and then when he could finally communicate with a typewriter, these incredible poems and deep thoughts, and I think your dad said he had the vocabulary of a 50-year-old man, and it astounds me. That whole thing astounds me, but let's get back to the song. I mean, I what made you wanna put that one to music? Because the one you read to me about the trees was incredible too. I mean, I think you
Mhm.
could do an entire album with your brother if you wanted to.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the walls just kinda came pretty naturally, and I don't know, I basically, like, arranged the poem a little bit, and so I just kinda, like, felt what felt right as the chorus, and he just had so many good, like, one-liners for that metaphor that just I built up the verse, and
Uh,
it was the kind of right that, like, falls in your lap. Like, there's no, like, "Hmm, what do I do here?" Like,
it's
his
like
words were so beautiful and
this
poetic that I was like, "How lucky am I get to write to this."
Yeah, and it's like almost like the universe is saying, "No, right now I need you to focus and write this song because and here are the words and go do what you do good. And go work your magic with your brother and are you going to sing that one for us today?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, man, I
That is
can't wait to hear it.
before we leave the subject, what episode on the
Yeah, that's a good
podcast is
question.
yours? Which one so our
I know it's
listeners can.
Yeah.
season 2, but I don't remember which
Mhm.
episode number.
Season 2, episode 19. And
Okay.
I'm so grateful for the telepathy tapes because, um, it made my whole family feel less alone in, like, our situation.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah, because it's like a crazy concept and thing,
Yeah.
and it was, like, very emotional and very overwhelming to have, like, basically, like, a brand new adult voice in your family. Um, so it was just, like, very emotional and very overwhelming, so, like, that podcast was so helpful to my family and kind of like a, "Hey, we don't have to explain this to you anymore, like, go listen to the podcast."
Well,
Um
I was gonna say, it's I was gonna say this to the audience. It's like, well, I can't relate because I don't have an autistic kid. You can relate because everybody knows somebody who's got an autistic child or a nonverbal adult living in their house, and until I listened to that podcast, I had no idea how deep and profound some of these young adults and teenagers are. And
Mhm,
the common thread is their parents had no idea. They were like, yeah, I mean, we finally taught him how to use an iPad and he's having adult conversations with us. And I think that so it's a great podcast for anyone. I mean, if you've ever known somebody, it's a great podcast to go listen to and go, "Oh my gosh, there's so much to that story." But yours was great, and I think I liked your dad on there the most
like
because Craig and I were talking about that. It's like, regardless of if you're a scientist, you're like, "No, there's no way that I'm a scientist. That's just not real." And then you're like he starts talking about Harriet And your dad's like, "Okay, that's freaking me out a little bit because how
That's
would he
real.
know how would he know about Harriet?"
Mhm.
But so it's definitely you need to go listen to it because it's really, really great. But so you wrote this song, and, what does he think about your singing, by the way? I was gonna ask you, has he given you any, like, critique? Feedback?
Totally. Well, he loves music. Like, when he's not
Mhm.
typing, he's on his iPad, and he usually has, like, a YouTube video of some sort of symphony up.
Okay.
And he will, like, rewind to, like he likes to kinda loop the same part, which is, pretty common for autistic
It is.
individuals, can't explain it. But he will, like, loop, like, kind of the biggest, loudest crescendo of, like, the symphony, and he will, like, refind the same videos, and he'll listen to that over and over again, and different ones. So he'll listen to music all the time, and so he definitely has, like, a good ear. I think just, like, growing up around me, I didn't realize, like, how we were so on the same page. But yeah, definitely I had, like, a period of time at home, like, right after I graduated,
Mhm.
and, he was, like, hanging out with me when I was writing a lot or practicing guitar or practicing piano, and that was kind of, like, the era where he, like, wrote The Walls. And so I would ask his opinion, be like, "How does this make you feel?" The first draft of The Walls, he was like, "It feels too sad." He's like, "My life isn't sad, like, I don't want it to feel pitiful and sad." And so we kinda, like, brightened up the song with, like, some synths and harmonies and made it feel more, like, dreamy and angelic, and I wanted to create that, like, almost, like, meditative, dreamy space, that
Mm.
I imagine he feels when he's meditating and connecting, in his way. So, yeah, it's really cool, and I definitely, like, ask for his feedback.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but also he's biased because he's my brother, so he's like, "That was great, Maddie."
Yeah, of course. He's a brother.
Yeah,
So, are
yeah.
you are in the process, have you recorded the song yet already?
Yeah, so the song is
Okay,
done.
you've already recorded it, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And you did that in Nashville?
Yep.
Got it, now, when you recorded the song, did you record it in a studio or in somebody's house, at your place? Because now,
Yes. Well,
how'd you
yeah,
do
this
that?
is a good question, kind of the journey of the song, of how it
Yeah,
was
Mhm.
absolutely.
made. I've played it at writers' rounds for, like, years, and then I played one writers' round at this amazing studio. Let me pull up the name so I don't say it wrong. 1 second.
That's alright. We can edit this out, so
Mhm. I just wanna make sure I say the right name. Okay. Yeah, I played it at this writers round at Spellbound Records or Recorders. So it's called
Mhm.
Spellbound Studio. It's in Lebanon, Tennessee, and they have like a beautiful facility. So this woman who runs it, Nettie, she like did a writers round at her studio. And I told the story about like, hey, I wrote the song with my brother. He's, a non-speaking individual, and this is his song The Walls. And she was like, I love it. Can we make a demo for you, like, no charge, like, we just want to put the song on its feet, and I was like, "Absolutely, thank you so much." So I
Twist
did a
my arm.
session. Yeah, I was like, "Thank you, that was, like, really awesome." So um, I did a session at Spellbound, and it was just, like, me on guitar and singing, and I added vocals, and then I kinda sat on that for, like, a few years because I wasn't sure what to do with it, and that was the version Ethan was like, "It's too sad," and I wanted to find, like, a pop producer to make it feel more dreamy and add that, like, sparkliness to it that it needed that wasn't just, like, guitar and vocals. So then I worked with my friend Levi Greenberg, and I told him the story and showed him the song, and then he was like, "Alright," and he just was on Ableton and adding sparkles to it, and I was like, "Yeah, that feels right." So then we went back and we, like, re-recorded the vocals and fixed the guitars up a little bit and just made everything kinda revamped everything. Um, and then I was like, "Yeah, that's the song," and then he sent me the mix, and I burst into tears unexpectedly. I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
"Yes, this is, like, how I wanted this song to sound."
Has
And just,
Ethan
like
heard it yet? Has he heard
yeah,
it yet?
Ethan's
Okay.
heard it, and Ethan was like, "It's perfect. This is how I wanted the song to feel too."
That's awesome. That is
Yeah, it
great.
took a minute, and I really wanted it to feel right, so it took, like, almost 3 years to have that song be
It took
finished.
it took the time it was supposed to take, and
Yeah, and I really believe that. You need to wait and be connected with the right people and wait for the right moment
no
to put it out.
question. Absolutely no question, and, I think that the first person the song obviously moved her enough to go, "Oh, hey, I just wanna contribute to getting this song out there, so come in, sing it," and then, you found the right guy to help you, bring it to life, so that's so cool. That's so cool. And, one of the things that Craig and I have discovered from talking to a lot of different songwriters, we've talked to an artist songwriter named Michael Peterson the other night, and he had a big couple of years in Nashville and, but he really enjoyed the writing process more, I think, than being an artist, honestly. And he's still an artist, but now he does it. He performs for the troops, and he's done like 250 shows for soldiers but everybody that we've talked to understands the power of music and understands the healing properties of music and for someone like your brother who, and that's so common, a lot of autistic people gravitate to music, because it's a language they understand. They understand it in their own way, but they understand it and it brings them peace or it brings them clarity or whatever it does, but it calms them down. But so your story really just kind of basically echoes everything that we've heard from other writers and other even producers who say, I heard that song and I knew it was going to be something. I mean, I just heard someone sing it and I went, oh, that needs to be out there. And so it doesn't surprise me that I haven't even heard the song, but it doesn't surprise me that someone said, come in and record it.
This is a podcast you have got to hear. Fred Mullen, producer of Stars. Go and listen. Yeah.
Fred Mullen. I'm going to mention a few names here. Willie Nelson, Billy Joel, Carly Simon, Vince Gill, Glenn Campbell, Crosby and Nash, Art Garfunkel, Jackson Brown, Linda Ronstadt, Michael McDonald, and also Friday the 13th television shows and movies, and Beverly Hills 90210.
Disney lullabies.
From Friday the 13th to Disney lullabies, he's done it all.